You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
All right, this is Walter Yes, iWalter again, on Saturday the 9th, 2016. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of disheveled. I was going to kind of get some stories out of the way and get to the main thing I did tonight, which was actually, let me grab my wallet really quick. I should have done this before, I did not, so I'm doing it now, because it is 1 o'clock now, Saturday morning. So that's a.m. I went to a play tonight, which I can't really call it a play, so I'm not sure. It was at this place called the Hedgerow Theatre. It was for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was basically, it says Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't panic. January 8th, which was now yesterday. It's playing through the 17th. Not really sure where to tell people where to go, but to say the least, it was kind of entertaining. The thing is, I feel bad because the actors are really good. They got some really good actors. In fact, the actors I had seen put on this performance also did Dracula, which I had seen late sometime last year, and I was not disappointed whatsoever. It was actually a really good... I got to move this mic around, so I apologize. Hopefully I'm not changing my levels. I need to see what I'm reading, though, so that being said, I got to make sure I don't lose any levels on my audio. Testing that right now. That being said, let me just turn this up just a tad bit. I'm just going to probably cause a problem, but we shall see. Maybe not. Yeah, it was called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Years ago, many years ago, eons ago, when I was in high school, there's this guy I used to be friends with. His name was Keith Goldberg, and this other guy, friend of his, they always talked about this Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I honestly, I never read it until probably a little bit later, maybe out of high school. Maybe it was around high school, but I was like, okay, what are these guys always laughing at these books? Maybe I read it in high school and they read it in middle school. I can't remember exact timeline. But yeah, I was always, there were only a set of books I actually could read and get all the way through with no problem, because I'm not a very good reader. The only other time I had no problem reading was when I was in college and I had a good professor that actually taught me something I was interested in reading and would not kind of turn away or just not find it interesting at all. One was English lit. Actually, I'd have to say I was interested in reading when it came to my first major. Actually, I was general studies, and I changed it to human services for being a mental health technician. The psych books, the social books, sociology books. I had no problem reading those. Those were actually really interesting. I had a blast reading those. But anyway, on literature, though, or anything fictional, non-fictional, give or take, well, probably more fictional. I even had a hard time reading that stuff. So that being said, the Hitchhiker's books, I actually went on my own, and I read those. The first book I got through fairly easily, because I'm not a very good reader. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I looked it up tonight. There is 5 books now, and I remember reading all 5. There were some other books they found some material that was supposed to eventually turn into a book, and but from Douglas Adams, and I think one of them that he actually wrote right before he passed away was the one about the Titanic in space, which was supposed to be, him going in a different direction from the Hitchhiker's books. But I really could not pick up that book and read it. It was the only book I just lost interest from like the very first page, and I never bothered to read it. But the Hitchhiker books, they always, they try to cash in that. And honestly, they did a pretty damn good job with the following books that actually continued with the same storyline. But tonight they actually the Hedgerow, I think that's how you pronounce it, actually put on what I thought was a play. It was only $20, so I'm not going to complain about it. And again, the performers are really good actors. I don't know their names. They did present themselves at the very end. I actually really like them. I actually liked there was 5 different actors on stage, playwright. I mean, these are live performance actors. These aren't actors for TV. The one I did not recognize, but the other ones I recognized from watching a play of Dracula. So, I didn't have a problem with them. Playing the devil's advocate, the only thing I did have a problem with is they basically read off a manuscript or, some type of script that was held on a pedestal in front of them it was a 2-hour play with a 10-minute intermission. That I had a little bit of an issue with. They had projections in the back to kind of, as they narrated the story, there was like pictures that people had drawn up, or somebody, I forget who, I think it was the one actor's wife had drawn up these pictures in the background. Now, it was nice, it was cool, but you're basically, it was interesting in some ways because I guess it's not quite what would be considered a soliloquy. Am I saying that word right? But, a one-person performance where there's really nothing else going on. You focus on that one person. It was kind of like that, but of course, obviously, you had 4 people standing for the 2 hours, reciting their lines, and amongst, conversing between the 4 actors on stage, standing there. It was original, I think, the idea, so I'll give it that much credit. But I was kind of expecting, even from a play, a little bit more visually, It didn't have to be anything spectacular, but I remember when they did Dracula, they did a really good job with the costumes. Now, I know, this is pretty much, actors that are, just starting out, so to speak, from college. Some of them might be actually, I believe, probably college students. They are really good actors. So, I can't say that enough. I just want to make sure people know that. I'm sure I put that in their head way too far. I'm going to move this mic a little bit, make it more comfortable. Hopefully get a better, level as well. Anyway, honestly, I would have probably enjoyed it a little bit more if they would have put a little bit more of a backdrop to it besides just a, protruding projection screen, which was made up for these actors to have in their, is that their foreground? It was in the back of them. Maybe that's the background then, right? I can't remember. They were probably in the foreground. So that was a little bit of an issue. Again, it was only $20, so I'm not complaining that much. I enjoyed listening to them. Again, I would have probably enjoyed, and they did put some, energy into what they were reading, but it felt like a storytelling narration for the most part. That was my only downfall. Now, they said they want to do on something else, and I can't remember right off the top of my head. Oh, it was a Sherlock Holmes, The Hounds of Baskerville. So I assume they're going to try to do it the same way. I hope kind of not. I would like to see them do, The Hound of Baskerville. I'd like to see them do a little bit more like they did with Dracula, because that was just like really good. I'll pay the extra $10 or so. Hell, I'll even pay a little bit more, because if it's something, I'm sorry, I'm dusting right now. Not a good thing to do with my hand with dust that just accumulates in my room. I know it's just dead skin cells, but it still bothers me. So I'm kind of like lukewarm about this. It actually did kind of make me want to go back, even watch the TV series. The one guy, I guess, who kind of coached other people, he was the narrator. They were all narrators, so to speak, but he was like the main narrator of Hitchhiker's Guide. I did not know that because I read the books and we were talking a little bit. I got a picture of the actors, which were very nice, all four of them. But he mentioned, I did not notice, he said that actually the radio show, there was a radio show that came before the books. I automatically assumed that the books came before the radio show, but he mentioned that there was the radio show, then it was the books, and then it was the TV series, BBC radio show, which they were kind of basing this production out of the radio show that originally had came forth from Douglas Adams. We got in a little discussion because I said, yeah, I remember like they were shown in the wait-in area lobby of the Playhouse, the original TV series from the BBC, which I didn't really like as much as I liked the books. The books went into a lot more depth. They were much more entertaining. They were a lot fun. They were very funny. And the TV show was all right, but I do want to watch it again. They were showing that, and I mentioned to the one actor, I said, yeah, it kind of reminds me with the theme. Even the props, they probably did borrow them from back when Peter Davison was on. The incidental music in the background for Hitchhiker sounded exactly the same. And probably some of the props were taken right from probably Doctor Who, setups or something. They probably used the same material or whatever, not costumes, but I'm trying to think that the right word. The background, the foreground or whatever. I'm saying that again, probably wrong. But the stuff in the background, because I swear, because I've seen every Doctor Who a million times and probably just shy of that, but it was just kind of interesting because it was like, okay, I think I've seen this on Doctor Who at one point. And it was like, yeah, probably from Tom Baker's era or Peter Davison. Now, Douglas Adams did write, he reminded me of that too, which I already knew, about Douglas Adams wrote quite a few episodes for Doctor Who. And right off the top of my head, without even looking, I said right off the top of my head to this guy, an actor, I said, yeah, he actually wrote Shada, which never was, it was actually partially shot, and then there was a director's strike or some type of strike with the BBC and stuff, so they never really completed it. They had some material they started with, and most of the story is missing. It was actually supposed to be a link trying to bring back the character of the Master, which they actually eventually did with a new body, but it never really got developed. They did put out whatever material they had. They never even mentioned that, but I remember reading stories about this episode Douglas Adams wrote called Shada, and again, it was supposed to kind of pick up, even though it had other actors after Roger Delgado died, they were supposed to kind of incorporate Delgado's version, I think, of the Master back into the world of Doctor Who. Anyway, he also wrote a really popular one, was the Pirate Planet. If I remember correctly, that was one of Douglas Adams as well. I think the one that they were in Paris with Tom Baker and Lola Ward, I think that was also a Douglas Adams one. There was quite a few episodes he did write for Doctor Who, which were really good. But he was best known, obviously, for his take on or making up his own science fiction story of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, the interesting thing, Douglas Adams, he died probably a premature death. He was an alcoholic, and I would have to say he was probably a functioning alcoholic, because the stories of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it was him just finding himself on the side of the road or somewhere in some other country or who knows where. And he basically based the whole storyline, if I remember correctly, of Hitchhikers was based upon his drunken excursions, but he made obviously a twist of adding a lot of humor and just adding the whole entire galaxy to the whole thing, obviously, because of the name. And I thought it was really entertaining. They highlighted a lot on the play tonight, but they barely touched upon even, I would think, the first book. See, I'm going by the book. They're based nerds on the radio show. Obviously, when he wrote the books, he could actually do more than he could for the radio show, even if the radio shows did come first. I won't bother to check. I won't bore people with that. But they are actually definitely entertaining storylines. So I appreciate the fact that they made an effort. They said they worked on this for about a year. It was kind of interesting because while they were working on that, I guess whoever wrote the script, probably from the radio content, the actors obviously were doing other plays. I actually missed out because I did want to see earlier last year or end of last year, they actually did A Christmas Carol, which they put on every year. I wanted to actually see it with these actors. I will go back to the Hedgerow again, Hedgerow, because they are really, really talented actors, just, once again. And I really enjoy both plays. One was a play, the other one was more of a narration. But again, they incorporated their acting skills into it, so I appreciate that. Anyway, I do got so many stories, and now it's just so difficult to dig through them, so I'm just going to have to go in some non-linear order on my storyline. So this was one I think a friend had sent to me a couple days ago now, and it was from stopmasturbation.org. It's actually pretty funny. It says, "Is masturbation destroying the climate?" I mean, these are all humorous stories, and anyone on masturbation I will bring up. It's showing result of a study released by Brother Lonnie's University of Faith Facts and the Foundation for a Better Tomorrow, entitled "Masturbation Residue and Its Effects on the Global Climate." So part of this is, obviously, it's like the Onion, the stories they pick, but I think they incorporate just people that are total nut jobs that might actually believe this stuff as well. Outlines the direct impact of masturbation and its filth on the peaceful, God-fearing, innocent people of the world and its God's creation. Well, I tell you, if that was the case, I'd be really fucked, because the place I live would actually be burned down to the ground from the amount of times I've taken care of business on a solo act. So yeah, I definitely would be no where to live around here for me, because it would have been the grounds I live on would have been disintegrated years ago from the amount that I even do still today. For a person going to be turning 49 years old. Anyway, there's another story on probably the same line. I didn't do this intentionally because these are all out of order, but Todd sent me about 95% of these articles tonight. So this one was actually dated January 8th. It was from thepatch.com. I don't know which version, because the patch is actually depending on what area you live in. There's one for each county, even in Pennsylvania. I'm sure they have them elsewhere too. Anyway, this one says, Whit Pain man busted for child porn is a registered sex offender. I have a picture of the guy, young guy. A video of a local man downloaded reportedly showed a girl between the ages of 9 and 11 engaging in sexual intercourse with a man. This Whit Pain man, convicted of child pornography, has landed himself on the Megan's Law website as a registered sex offender. Christopher Coy, or I don't know, he looks Asian, so I don't know how to say his last name. K-Poc, 23 of 1900 block of Yorkshire Drive, is now a Tier 3 registered sex offender, reporters say. I don't know what a Tier 3 is. I don't even know what a Tier 1 is. It says Pak, like many child convicts, was busted when an online investigator discovered something file on video sharing website and traced it back to Park's home in Whitpain via his IP address. So that's kind of scary. I mean, if you look at goofy shit, I'm not talking child porn. I'm not even talking anything near it. Just want to make sure that's clear. You got to be really careful because they traced this guy back to his IP address. So you might look at some goofy shit. Me and a friend were talking about this tonight, but you could probably get yourself in trouble nowadays because you got the thought police, around you, the 1984 people. The video reportedly showed a girl between the ages of 9 and 11 engaged in sexual intercourse with an adult male. When arrested, Pak said he looked at child porn once a month and that he knew what he was doing was wrong, the reports state. I don't know. I just don't understand. I mean, personally, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not going to defend this guy. But I would say as long as this person, just hear me out for a minute, folks. The guy's not engaging in sexual intercourse in any way or not even intended to do that. People have some really strange fetish behaviors. So, I just gotta, I think I'm just more concerned. I think a friend will disagree with this. I just tapped my mic, so I apologize. I'm more concerned about your right for your own privacy. I don't care what it is, as long as you're not physically harming anyone else or anything else. I really would rather not know what's going on behind closed doors. But now this is just like, you seem, okay, this is the only thing they're concerned about are sexual predators. But no, it's going to go deeper than that. And I don't even know if this guy was a sexual predator. He just had like really weird, what do you call it? Because they give women a slap on the wrist for the same stuff. And they actually go through with these sexual deviant behaviors. Now, most people are saying, well, this will lead into that. Well, if it does, then you prosecute. I know you should nip it at the bud, so I'm not going to go any further with that one because it's like a losing argument I'll probably have if I bring it up. Anyway, I'm just going to go in order the way I have these posted because this one's kind of entertaining. Again, these are 90% of these, 95% of these are from my friend Todd. This was posted actually January 7th. Teen dies, it was on Fox 29, teen dies from using too much deodorant. Somebody made a joke, one of our ex-bosses of me and my one friend, and he stated, like, well, we know it wasn't this one particular person, and he didn't mention her name, but I know who he was talking about, one guy that kind of really smelled bad a lot. I felt bad for this coworker of ours. Anyway, Fox News says the British teenager who used cans of deodorant in lieu of bathing died from inhaling gas, because obviously when he was using the spray cans, and yeah, you got to be careful. You can die of asphyxiation. Police found the 42 aerosol cans in the room of Thomas Townsend, 16, of Folkestone, Kent, in southeast England. The Sun had reported. According to his mother, Sally, Thomas would spray half a can of deodorant on himself instead of taking a shower, then spray aftershave to cover up his body odor. You know what? Actually, it would have been cheaper for him just to run the water, because cans of deodorant are not that cheap. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. That actually brings up, I remember years ago I was paralyzed from the waist down. What does this have to do with anything, Walter? Well, I couldn't get out of bed. I had to use a bedpan, which I didn't like. I would have somebody carry me to the bathroom. I was in the hospital. Well, anyway, since I couldn't get out of bed because I literally lost the ability to walk for about a month or two, I had to learn how to re-walk because I was paralyzed. It was from a viral infection that landed in my spine. So that being said, my parents would come in and they used to use this stuff. I didn't even know it existed. I was a little kid at the time. That it was basically a spray can of like washing your hair. It was like a dry form of washing your hair. Trust me, it didn't do a good job at all. But I couldn't get out of bed, so that was the only thing I was able to do. I was driving me nuts because I'm very anal about that stuff, especially about taking showers. And my mother would come in and help me, bathe, but I'd have to do it in bed, basically, not with water, but with basically cans. I remember this, some type of can of washing your hair, which was a dry way of doing it. It was very irritating. Anyway, there was a quote in the story. It says, "How could he go through a can a week?" She told investigators, "I didn't know he had so many cans in his room, but he was a big hoarder." So obviously this kid had some issues, some type of issue that he, it's kind of weird because I would say it was OCD of some sort, but usually that's with germs. Did he have, some type of thing with OCD that he didn't like water? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. All right, this came up now. This was pretty funny. My next thing in line that just popped up. I'm not even joking. It's probably a wrong choice of words. There's this movie these guys put up. I was like, you got to be kidding. A movie called Killer Rack, and there's a thing on YouTube about it. It actually has its own Facebook page. It's basically one of these cheesy bad movies from that looks like, but I'm not sure if it actually is. But it definitely looks like one of those movies that were released from Jersey, from who's his name? Lloyd Kaufman or something. I'm trying to think. What was the name of those horrible movies like Toxic Avenger or everything like that? Let me see if I can look up his name. Yeah, it is Lloyd Kaufman. But what's his production team? Troma. That's right. It came to me now. Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman's actually in this film, and I don't think this is one of his, but it looks like something he would have definitely done. It looks like one of these cheesy bad movies, but it's called Killer Rack, and it's basically about this woman who has like no breasts at all. And I'm like watching the trailer, and I'm like laughing at the trailer because, it's bad. It's bad enough. The acting's meant to be really bad. I mean, it's designed to be that way. But this girl has a boyfriend, and he's complaining about the main character, his girlfriend, and he says, "Yeah, her breasts are so small, it's like they go inwards." And he says, like I'm feeling up a little boy. So she gets these breast implants, but these breast implants are actually like monsters, and they have teeth. Like, it reminds me, there was that movie called Teeth, and there was a movie similar to this one called Killer Condom, which was about a condom that is got teeth on it, and it kills people by biting off their wieners and stuff. So it's on that line. So anyway, even in the beginning of this thing, it says the following preview is NSFW, not safe for work. Seriously, we warn you. So it is pretty funny. It is designed just to be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, as one friend had mentioned it. Yeah, it's meant to be really bad, deliberately bad. But it just does look kind of funny, obviously, then too. But yeah, it's called Killer Rack. Somebody put it up on their horror website on Facebook. Killer Rack actually does have their own. Right now, they have their own, Facebook page. So you can check that out if you're interested, but I just had to lighten the mood a little bit. So here's my next story, by the way. It's nothing to do with Killer Rack. Something with a killer, though. My friend didn't hear about this. I did, and it actually falls in. I'm going to have to see. No, I can't, unfortunately. It would fit perfectly with another story that I found out about the other day. But this one was, I heard on Rush Limbaugh today. I was listening to Open Line Friday after it went into his archives, and it was the last, second hour. At the end of his second hour, he mentioned this. He mentioned Philadelphia. So obviously, hey, my ears, I always listen to Rush, but that really perked me up. Anyway, it says police suspect confused to Philadelphia police officer shooting in the name of Islam. So here's some guy, and they have a mugshot of this guy. His name's Edward Archer. He's a black gentleman. and it was on Action News, but Rush actually mentioned it before I even decided to dig up this story. And it says West Philadelphia officials say the suspect is in custody for the shooting that seriously injured a Philadelphia police. He basically came up and started shooting at a parked police car with the police officer in there. He shoot to kill. He was designed shoot to kill, and he was doing it out of claiming he was doing it in the name of ISIS. This guy from Philadelphia. So that's really reassuring. Oh, well, these people that believe in the ISIS, and they're trying to play it down, the officers of Philly. They're saying, oh, this is not what ISIS is about or what Muslims are about. It's no, well, every day they were trying to defend these people who believe in ISIS and these followers, but they're all very violent, vicious, and they are raping and the one story, not this one, about defecating on street property, ripping up stuff, destroying things under the name of the Islam belief. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm not doing a very good job. Anyway, it was in West Philadelphia, and this is just really scary because Philly is only less than an hour away from where I live. Officials say the suspect is in custody again after shooting seriously injuring a Philadelphia police officer. Has confessed to the crime, saying that he did it in the name of Islam once again. Commissioner Richard Ross provided the update during the news conference on Friday afternoon. He said there was no identification from the suspect, 30-year-old Edward Archer of Yeldon, it looks like not Yeldon, Yedin, that he was involved in a conspiracy. This guy looks a lot older than 30, too. I'm sorry. He looks much older. That's kind of actually frightening in its own way. But you know what? There's somebody who not only it's bad enough that this guy is disturbing, but what makes it even more disturbing is this guy will have people who believe in him. Two law enforcement sources tell ABC News that Archer took two recent trips to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia in 2011 for the jihad, I guess, and Egypt in 2012. However, he was not on the terrorist watch. Well, maybe he should have been, or he better be now. Ross went to say that Archer stopped short of implicating anyone else in the attack, adding that Archer was very excessive. Alrighty, I'm not going to read anymore. This is just ridiculous. He fired like 13 shots at a man and the officer who was protecting us, not expecting somebody to come out shooting a gun at his head while he was in a car. Yeah, there's more to say. You can actually find this again on Channel 6 News website. But they were downplaying it on the news when I actually listened to a part of it, and that alone was just really disturbing. Here's something that is actually disturbing, but in a different way, which I'm going to read because it's the next one up. A friend, I think he might have sent it as an intentional joke, but I actually found it really kind of heartwarming and, to say the least, very disturbing. Anyway, I'm sorry, I saw something else, but it was called. It was posted January 8th. Yeah, it was yesterday's news. Boy whose face was ripped off by chimps undergoes facial surgery in New York. This little boy, though, he's not from this country. He's a native from the Democratic Republic of Congo. This little boy and his friend, because where they live, I guess it's not the same, obviously, as our country. But these poor kids, the one kid died, but this kid got his face ripped off. And a little boy, he's only like, when he was 4 years old, I think is when the incident happened. Well, he's now in New York, in the U.S., and there's a surgeon who's going to actually be able to fix his face because he literally has no lips. So the thing that kind of brought this to my attention, it was heartwarming listening to the video for this. I didn't really read it. I just watched the video. The heartwarming part, though, was that this kid has a lot of spunk and the will to live. It's amazing. But it also brought to mind, it's like there's certain animals, like these weren't domestic animals, these chimpanzees. I don't think so. Well, usually chimps aren't. But the thing that brought to mind is like a lot of people try to domesticate animals you cannot domesticate, or you can't make them house pets. Now this is different because this was not one of these cases. This was just another country where you almost have to be on the defense because they're not as developed. The countries aren't as developed as we are, where animals are basically confined to certain areas, or if you're going to see wild animals, they're going to be in a cage, not running around freely, that most likely. So these poor kids were just a victim of circumstance, I guess. But it's a very heartwarming story. But it makes me think also about these people who try to like domesticate chimps for house pets, or these dogs that are obviously not meant to be. That you always hear these cases about these dogs are eating up little kids and stuff, so to speak. And people just don't learn from that in this country. Of course, they don't learn about that. They need to wise up about believing in Islam and stuff too, which obviously that hasn't happened here or any other country. Anyway, I'm just going to kind of look for an important part in this story. It was on PIX 11 yesterday. They said when this kid was 6 years old, he was playing with his 4-year-old brother and friend near some national park in the Dominican Republic of Congo when they were attacked by a troop of chimps. The animals killed the friend and killed and dismembered his brother and left. I had his name down by listening to the video, and I already forget how to say his name, so I apologize. Basically, left his brother severely injured, but his brother was basically dismembered, and another friend was severely killed. This poor little kid has no lips, and it makes it very challenging for him to chew and swallow food, and so he's. He also has, it's difficult for him to speak because he has no lips. Yes, it says he has to, basically to eat, he has to tip his head back to eat. He's always like, because, saliva builds up to digest your food. That's the first part of your digestive stage. That it makes it that he's always slobbering, so to speak, and he can't help it because he has no lips that can hold the food or the saliva in his mouth. That's why he has to chew by holding his mouth back. He also is unable to make certain speech sounds like with no lips. So this will hopefully he's going to have to go under a lot of different types of surgery, but hopefully my heart goes out for this kid, and I hope. That this surgeon in the U.S. in New York can actually help this poor little boy out, because that's something I can't say anything wrong about. That reminds me. Actually, I didn't bring it up. There's one girl I think she's really cute. She's that. I can probably pull the tape. I think she's adorable. She's that girl that just can't put on any weight. In Walmart, it was like $9 because I consider it a donation towards her. They made a documentary with her in it. Let me look for that real quick. Hold on one sec. All right, I got it here, so I'm away from the mic. Yeah, I think she's adorable, though. It's called A Brave Heart. The Lizzie, she's like, I guess Hispanic is her last name. Lizzie Velsquare, something like that story. And I just think she's adorable. She's a young girl. She's like definitely an influence. She can eat like probably 1 billion calories a day, and she would still look like she's anorexic. It's just a rare disease she has. But yeah, it was like $9 at Walmart. Actually, Walmart sponsored this DVD. And Lizzie's just, I signed up for her stuff, her, Twitter and Facebook. And, this is something I will buy. I haven't watched it yet. If I don't watch it for a while, sorry, I just bumped my mic. I will just take in consideration, hey, that's $9. That's not that much to contribute to somebody that I support. So I'm going to put this back real quick. So I'm walking across the room. I could have left it on the table, but I'm not. So, yes, I just want it out of the way. The room's getting really hot right now, too. I could have ran the fan. You probably wouldn't even have heard it. So, yeah, I just had to mention that. Anyway, the next story I did have lined up. Again, it's not in any particular order right now, just to let you know. Uprock's friend, again, I'm going to be saying Todd's name quite a bit. This little girl has years of therapy ahead of her over what she saw in a safari park. I don't know where the location was, and the video was already taken down. So there's a video with this, but it was taken down. Safari parks are great for visitors observing animals in the nature habitat instead of their natural habitat, instead of watching them in a sad cage at zoos. Probably like, I'm trying to think, I would assume it's probably Great Adventure because they do that. But not much like the real world, safari parks are also what happens when animals stop being polite and start getting real. So I assume, and it's with, of all things, I think this was with, it was with monkeys. They actually started going into the sex act on somebody's car, I guess, as you drive through those drive-through safari things, and it actually kind of disturbed that little girl, is what they're trying to say. And yeah, it says, and it's also much like the real world, sometimes this involves full-on penetration, as a little girl in this video gets surprise advanced course in the birds and the bees when two monkeys start going at it on the hood of their parents' car. So yeah, I was right about that. But already the video was removed from YouTube. The Uprocks is a story, but usually these videos are posted on YouTube just to get the videos up. But this one, because of the content, was actually already removed. So it was kind of entertaining in a weird way. Okay, this one's from the Times Leader. Never even heard of this. TimesLeader.com. Man accused of urinating on store merchandise turns self into police. So the guy actually turns himself in, though. Young guy. What is with these young people nowadays? This was actually one privately sent between two brothers, and I kind of just interjected. I had taken it and decided to go with it. Wilkesboro Township, Stroudsburg man caught on surveillance urinating on merchandise in the Target store at the Wilkesboro Township Commission in Wilkesboro. Township Commission Commons turned himself in on Thursday. Looks like Makovich is his last name. Anel Makovich, 25, was charged with open lewdness, public drunkenness, and disorderly conduct, police said. Police said that Makovich, if that's how you say it, Mukovich, entered the store at 8:50 p.m. on Tuesday and drove a electric cart for the handicapped around the store, stopping in the electronics aisle. Police said he took off his urine-soaked pants, exposed himself, and urinated on the video games and accessories before leaving the store. That's a lot of money. I hate to say it. Those video games aren't cheap, and those consoles are very expensive. Police posted the store surveillance of Makovich on their Facebook page. Police Special Investigator Unit members Robert Caparel and Jude Allen were the arresting officers. So I don't know. I mean, I would charge the guy for, that stuff. He should pay not only a fine, but he should pay for the damaged goods. I'm sorry. I'm glad he turned himself in, to say the least. It might have not been that hard to track him down, I hate to say, but just the same, he should be charged for the damage that he presented or did to the store. Anyway, again, do I need to mention who brought this story to my webpage for me to read? Well, he didn't ask me to read it. I will read it. It was on page6.com. Justin Bieber booted from Mexican ruins for acting like a moron. That's actually what it's titled. Here's what we know is Justin Bieber definitely was kicked out of the Mayan archaeological site of Tulum, Mexico. Is that right? But it was simply for climbing on the ruins, or was it simply because of climbing on the ruins, or is it because he was drunkenly drunkenly dropped his pants? So him and a couple other people, they were actually bringing booze. Was it cans or something? Bottles? Because it says, Singer's 21 was allegedly under the effects of alcohol when he and his crew, including his gal pal Haley Baldwin, arrived at the site in the afternoon. Reports say at the UK Sun, the group was initially refused entry because they showed up with beer in hand, but were allowed in after discarding the alcohol. Well, they did cause, basically, in a few paraphrasing what this had said, they did still cause a commotion. There's certain areas of these ruins people are prohibited because just for the safety of the tourists, so they won't get hurt, because these ruins, they're called ruins for a reason. I remember that movie made that was called self-named The Ruins. That was actually a pretty good film. A little weird. But anyway, there's certain areas, it's not because of mythology or whatever that movie kind of talked about. No, it's basically so people won't get hurt, seriously hurt. So they rope off areas that you are allowed to, rope off areas you're not allowed to walk in or on, because they're just very fragile and somebody could seriously get hurt. Well, Justin Bieber, being the person he thinks that, because of his, as my friend would probably put it, infinite wisdom and superior being, just thought he could walk into these areas that were prohibited for anyone to walk on because they are dangerous. These are old, historical landmarks. Well, he decided to do so anyway, so they basically got to the point in Mexico, they just kind of tossed him out, so to speak. So there's my take on the story. This is another one, Todd. This was from actually NewJersey.com. Man 63 charged with shoplifting $477 worth of women's panties. And it was from actually, of all places, I made a kind of joke at the Victoria's Secret. I kind of joked, wouldn't you kind of want, isn't that the thing with men, which I never understood it, wouldn't you want panties that women had worn as opposed to panties that weren't worn at all? I was being sarcastic when I kind of posted that as a response when the friend posted on my webpage, but I never understood the thing about sniffing women's panties, but I don't know what this guy's case was. It says Edentown, 63-year-old Camden County man was charged with shoplifting Tuesday after he allegedly was caught shoplifting women's underwear from a Victoria's Secret once again. An employee at Victoria's Secret in Mammoth Mall told Easton Town police that she witnessed a man carrying out women's underwear from the store on January 5th. The dozens of pairs of underwear that the man identified as Bruce Wright, 63, of Collinswood. Isn't that like in Dark Shadows as Collinswood? Shoplifted a full retail value of $476. Now, here's the real clincher, and 97 cents. So that's what really did is 97 cents. Police had said Wright was arrested the same day and charged with one count of fourth-degree shoplifting. His bail was set at $2,500 full bail. The Asbury Park Press reported that Wright was also wanted for shoplifting charges at the Cherry Hill, Cransbury, East Brunswick, and Evansham, whatever, and that he also had a warrant out for his arrest of Camden on the receiving stolen property charge, on a stolen property charge. So this man has obviously got a history of shoplifting, to say the least, even though I really deprecated that story. Wright had several shoplifting convictions between 2009 and 2014 in multiple counties, and served 364 days in jail after being convicted of shoplifting in Gloucester County, the newspapers had reported. He's scheduled for his first appearance on his latest shoplifting charge on January 14th. So that's what? That's next week sometime, obviously. Yeah, I already mentioned this. I actually pulled it up twice, so I apologize. It was a story about the guy who under the name of ISIS, tried to kill a cop in Philadelphia just 2 days ago. Isn't that really lovely? Friend sent me this. It was from zap2it.com. Happy Blade Runner Day. Celebrate the creation of Rutger Hauer's homicidal replicant. Apparently, the timeline on his favorite movie, My One Friends, which is Blade Runner. That timeline was coming up this year. It says sharp-eyed viewers might recall a brief glimpse of the profile belonging to the various Nexus replicants that Ford Rick Deckard was commissioned to retire in the 1982 Noir flick. According to those profiles, that Tyree Corporation manufactured Batty, whatever that is, Batty in 2016, which sets up the idea that the character and the three others would come to Earth illegally in November 2019, looking to prolong their 4-year lifespan. So there was a little bit before that I did not read, but it wasn't really that important. It was just kind of lead in. But yeah, the timeline for the movie, part of the timeline for the movie Blade Runner would have came up this year, but obviously that's one of these other fictional historic films, so to speak, science fiction films that kind of misjudged the future, so to speak. So I have to watch Blade Runner again. I really don't know much about it. Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of trying to get these a little in order. This kind of really upset me. You know that the Deadpool movie is coming out on, I think, Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's really smart, Walter. No, it's coming out on the 14th of February, so that's Valentine's Day. I think that's when it's coming out. Do you know they butchered that movie so much because it was really initially Deadpool's that, vigilante character, graphic novel character, comic books, that was supposed to get an NC-17 rating. Well, apparently they pushed, and I know, did not want this. The guy who's playing Ryan Reynolds, he did not want this. Well, they did it anyway. They got it down to a rated R rating, but guess how long the movie's going to be? 46 minutes. So who's going to want to pay $12 or $15 to go see a movie that's only 46 minutes because they severely butchered the film? How much is Deadpool it says how much Deadpool is enough Deadpool. Would you consider 1 hour and 46 minutes enough time to watch the Merc run his mouth and kick ass simultaneously? See, I thought it said only 46 minutes. They're saying it's an hour and 46 minutes. Either way, I think they did get it down to a rated R rating, which I'm really disappointed in. If so, you should be happy to hear that this is precisely how long the much-awaited Deadpool film is, according to 20th Century Fox official website Spam. While it's nearly 2 hours, might seem like plenty, this is the running time would actually make Deadpool one of the shorter comic book movies produced for Fox. But I swear to God, I think they did get it, if I remember correctly, I think they tried to get it down, or they did get it down to rated R rating. This is the issue. I also, if this is true, if I am not misunderstanding, this is the same issue that I had with, Rob Zombie's movie. Just because, there are these ratings, I would personally, if they could, I would put out the NC-17 rating of the films and put out a rated R version for those who aren't fortunate enough to see the uncut versions. Why make everybody suffer? That's my thing. Anyway, the story I did one earlier on this show, I finally found it, but I'm going to wait and kind of lead into it. So I'm going to read this first. It's not an entertaining story. It's from the Dreaming Demon. Katie Hartwig fractured baby's skull because she wouldn't stop crying. The baby wouldn't stop crying. This was yesterday. In St. Louis, Katie Hartwig has been arrested after the 31-year-old allegedly fractured a 10-month-old girl's skull by throwing her onto the ground. Now, how do these people procreate again? How are they allowed to? The girl was brought into the hospital on Monday after being cared for by Hartwig, who has helped care for the girl since she was an infant. Hartwig was a family friend who offered to babysit because the baby's parents were worried about putting the girl in daycare. Well, you know what? They probably regret that now. But when the girl's mother arrived to pick up the daughter from Hartwig's home, she found that her daughter was sleeping face down on the couch. That is actually really scary. The baby was lethargic and vomited as she left Hartwig's home, so she was rushed to the hospital. I just don't understand how these people are, trust their children with this. Doctors determined the girl was suffering from a skull fracture as well as swelling and bleeding around the brain. This is really sad. They say that the child's injuries were caused by a high-force impact. When the police went in to talk to Hartwig, she said that the girl could have fallen and hit her head on the entertainment center. Yeah, she just miraculously fell at a very, really hard, just accidentally. Sorry, I just hit my thing. But on Tuesday, the doctors told police that the girl's injuries could not have come from just from that kind of fall. Police went back to talk to Hartwig, and she finally admitted that she had thrown the baby girl to the ground because she would not stop crying. Actually, that's when she stated was that she forcibly threw the child onto the kitchen floor and that the baby landed on her back. The tactic worked, so she placed the baby on the couch face down. Well, that's really smart. Suffocate the baby after you smash the poor kid's head. Hartwig was arrested and charged with first-degree felony child abuse and misdemeanor counts on child endangerment. She was also charged with the possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia after detectives found a glass bong, marijuana, and a marijuana grinder in her home. She's currently being held in Jefferson County Jail on a $100,000 cash-only bail. A GoFundMe account has been created for the family that by this family that states, our sweet baby Quinn was abused by her babysitter, who was also our family friend. We also are so devastated and still in shock. Her skull was shattered by a person we cared for and trusted. So there is actually a GoFundMe, which is now this is making me feel bad. Because this poor little baby, I don't know, they basically said she has a long recovery between medical bills and time off of work. We would so gratefully, basically appreciate the help. So I'm going to look at this right now. I'm going to try to post this on my Facebook page. I didn't expect this. It's not opening up, though. So I don't know if it's just my webpage or what. I'm going to try it again. Okay, yeah, this time it did open up. But it says Linkfo links. So, hey, you know what? This would be something I would definitely have to give a couple bucks for, but I'm just a little skeptic because it's not going to where it's supposed to go for this little girl. So, yeah, if you see that story, maybe somebody else can kind of figure out how this works. In fact, I lost it altogether now, but that little girl who had her babysitter basically smack her head and fracture her skull severely, this little 10-month-old baby. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't tell you much more. I lost the story, and sometimes these are hard to get up again, retrieve these stories because, I had these from earlier. But it said it was on GoFundMe, so, and I could probably just find it under the Dream and Demon. I'm trying to look for actually right now because that one actually really got to me. Yeah, you probably Christopher Morbid Lee was on Dream and Demon, and it's Quinn. I guess you look for QUINN is the little girl's name. That was supposed to take you to GoFundMe, but it really did not. So something got kind of messed up here. I don't know why. Yeah, this is not helping either. So maybe somebody else, if they're interested, they can maybe even help me too, because it would be something I probably would give, certain things that, I'm not a ruthless person. I'd have to give money to him. This would probably be one of them. Alrighty, another story. I apologize for moving on. I feel like a dog for doing this. PIX11, Todd. Subway urinator pushes man onto train tracks. Manhattan, a 63-year-old man, another 63-year-old man. I had a story before this that had that, before the little girl. Was pushed onto a subway track by a man he caught urinating in the East Harlem station elevator. According to Daily News, I can't even figure this one out. Was waiting for the elevator in the 125th Street subway station on Saturday night. When the elevator door opened, he saw Stephen Bowman urinating inside. Okay, I'll make an attempt. Hugo or something questioned why he was doing that, and then he decided not to take the elevator, the Daily News reported. So this older man just saw some guy urinating in the elevator, and he said, why are you doing this? And he said, you know what, I'm not going to take this elevator because you just pissed all over the floor. So this guy who was perpetrator, whatever you want to call him, Bowman, began to follow Hugo, whatever how you say his name, and he pushed him into the tracks. Luckily, 2 cops nearby witnessed it and rushed over to help this older gentleman off the tracks. According to the Daily News, people on the platform started to surround Bowman, who was the guy who pushed the 56-year-old, surrounded Bowman, and the police had to take control of the crowd. Bowman was arrested and charged with misdemeanor assault and harassment. The older gentleman suffered a minor hand and wrist injury. So, I don't know. At least there were some patrons out there, people, whatever, some other citizens that actually were willing to step in and do something about it. I wanted to lead into the story I was going to try to read earlier, which me and a friend and I were talking about just last night. It was from the Daily Mail, and it's titled, this was going to be like at the top of my stories before everything else. I actually did not expect to go to that play also last night, but I did. So this was going to be like the highlight of my story, actually, which I'm getting to it now. It says, Angela Merker invited us How Bayan asylum seeker sex mob taunted Cologne, is it Colin or Cologne police after robbing and raping women or woman? I think it's woman. Shock. This is basically, this is no different to me, no matter how you look at it. Germany allowed a lot of these, what do you call it, into their country, these refugees, and they're basically destroying Germany now. And their response for doing it is, well, you invited us, we can do whatever the fuck we want to do. And my friend Matt asked me, did you hear about the story about this? And I said, yeah, I actually posted it. I was intending to talk about it, so I'm talking about it now. I'm going to do the best I can. It says shock news details of drunk and stoned New York sex mob and police report. Violent, actually the word I wanted to use was, is migrants. Violent migrants taunted police by ripping up temporary resident permits. I'm a Syrian. I must be handled in a friendly manner. Mrs. Merkel invited me, quote unquote, one said. Reports say woman forced to run the gauntlet of terrifying anger. One officer said he never seen anything like this in the 30 years with his force. Okay, let's open it up. I didn't need to do that though. But these were the bullet points. It says grinning asylum seekers taunted police trying to break up the ugly rabble who turned central, again, I think it's Cologne, and into a lawful open toilet because they were basically vomiting and defecating. These are these migrants that they allowed into Germany, and we're doing the same thing in the U.S., and trust me, it doesn't even have to be the migrants that are doing this destructive behavior. Anybody who is given something without, earning it, kind of, so to speak, like they are just handed out things on a silver platter, are going to act very disrespectful. And that's the thing that our president doesn't even seem to understand. I'm sorry, I just kind of blew into my mic, so I didn't mean to do that. So anyway, again, it just restart over again. Grinning asylum seekers taunted police by trying to break up the ugly rabble who turned central Cologne into a lawless open toilet by telling them to be nice because they've been invited by Angela Merkel. Now, they also said, well, hey, they were ripping up their temporary visas, and they said, well, we're just going to get new ones tomorrow anyway. The sex mob of migrants, Arab and North African men, tore up their temporary resident permits and threw them at the officers who battled through the New Year's Eve to regain control of the streets, which were covered with feces and vomit once again. Outside the city's historic cathedral were the 1,000 drunk and stoned migrants sexually assaulted and robbed 100 women, so it was women, declared, you can't do anything to me. I will get myself a new one in the morning. So it shows pictures of this whole shenanigans. They were raping 100 women, and they were defecating, basically shitting all over the place and vomiting and raping women, and destroying the place. And these were Syrian and North African migrants who, where they're coming from. And they just said, well, you can't do anything about it because we were invited here. We can do whatever the fuck we want to do. So there's more to this story. You can read it, but just keep that in mind. And that's the same thing that's going on in my hometown of Norristown, Philadelphia, and Pennsylvania. We allow these idiots in our state and some other states in this country, and we're not supposed to put some type of cap on this. Like, listen, we can't allow these idiots in our country. Oh, absolutely not, because that's being disrespectful. Then You're not being fair to these people who are just peaceful. There are, according to our president, they are. And we're the ones that are being disrespectful, not them. So obviously that man who we call our president is seriously suffering from delusions of grandeur, but, nobody's there who's going to stop him. All right, I got to take like a breather, not for me talking, but just a breather in general on these harsh stories. So anyway, anybody who had seen Star Wars The Force Awakens, there was this character which I thought was just pathetic in the movie, Snork. And it says, is Snork Darth Vader, with a question mark? This Star Wars picture will make you do a double take. They take a picture of the actor who actually was when the helmet was taken off of Darth Vader, and you see the old man, and they show this screenshot of this character called Snork, Snoke, and maybe it's not Snork, maybe it's Snock, I don't know, maybe it's Snot. But it says one of the many questions that have been left with the end of Star Wars: The Force Awakens is that has become most interesting for fans is who is the supreme leader, Snoke or whatever the fuck you call him. From the little time we spent with him, we know that he has plans for Kylo Ren, and we know he wants to take down Luke Skywalker. So people are already making speculations about the film and their theories. Obviously, it made an impact. A couple of people I talked to, there were women mainly, who said they had seen the movie 4 or 5 times. Different women, not just one or two, but a couple. That was when I was over the mall that Mallrats is supposed to be shot, that X mall. I talked to quite a few different women that were either customers or basically store managers of these stores. So that's my lighter story. I just had a take a lower, a breather, so to speak. Anyway, there was a story, I forget where the fuck I found this from opposingviews.com. First execution of 2016, Florida serial killer Oscar Ray Bolin. So, hey, I wish they would bring it to our state. I hate to say it, the death penalty. But anyway, this story was posted on the 7th. In 1986, Oscar Ray Bolin beat and stabbed a 26-year-old Terry Lynn Matthews to death in Tampa, Florida. How does that make him a serial killer? That's one person. I mean, it's still bad. She wasn't his only victim. Okay, I apologize. Bolin was also convicted of murdering a 17-year-old Stephanie Collins and a 25-year-old Natalie Hawley, both of whom died the same way that year. So it states that now 53-year-old Bolin was the first person executed by the United States in 2016, and he was pronounced dead by the lethal injection on January 7th at 10:16 p.m. in Florida State Prison, the Associated Press reports. There's a picture of some woman, so I wonder if this is one of these stories where one of these wacky women marry somebody from prison kind of deal. I don't know. Maybe I need to do that. Got to find some girl who's on death row and marry her and say I'm madly in love with her and see how it feels. Although it's been 30 years since Bolin killed his victims, he went through several trials due to legal errors and was ultimately found guilty several different times by several different juries. Though the lethal system was reportedly condemned, reportedly condemned him. Bolin's wife, a paralegal who divorced her previous husband to marry Bolin 10 years after the murders, maintained his innocence throughout the trials. I love to meet a woman who's just that fucking nuts. I really do. She's not attractive, trust me. He's more attractive than her, and that's pretty sad. For the loved ones of those who died, Bolin's death means some form of justice. Kathleen Reese, the 78-year-old mother of Matthews, attended the execution. You know what? I'm telling you, if somebody severely mutilated a loved one of mine, and I could sit there and watch them die, I would probably just be having party favors out just to see it. Yeah, I mean, it's not the same. It's not going to bring back their loved ones, but again, I guess you would get some form of justification or whatever. Somebody was quoted, "I feel relief," I guess it's the victim's mother, "relief that it finally occurred," she told the AP, opposing views. The number of people executed and the number of people sentenced to death in the U.S. dropped in 2015, according to the NBC News. There were only 28 executions, the lowest number since 1991. A total of 49 people were sentenced to death last year, as well as the lowest number since 1973. Well, you know, I hate to say it. They say it's more expensive to execute someone than to let them spend the rest of their life in jail, which I find hard to believe. I personally would think it would just eliminate the space by just, if they truly are, somebody who's dangerous to our society, just get rid of them. I'm sorry. Just get rid of them. That's my opinion. Okay, I found this story yesterday, and this was from the Morning Call yesterday. It was actually 2 days ago, and this is really brutal. I mean, a friend always argues with me about, who's driving. Well, this one was a woman, and Northworth, it says Northworth woman seriously injured in East Allen crash with tractor trailer. So I saw this when it first got posted. I was going to read it. So I'm reading it now, though, because this was back on the 8th. Because it is the 9th now, right? Yeah. So it was yesterday. East Allen Township, the Northworth woman was seriously injured Thursday night in East Allen Township when her sports utility vehicle collided with a tractor trailer on Route 512, according to the state police. Police say that the SUV, driven by a 31-year-old Jessica Yo, wedged under the tractor trailer in the 9:10 p.m. crash, trapped Yo inside the Beth-Bath Pike, north of Silvercrest Road. Beth-Bath Pike is part of Route 512. Now, if you see this woman got 3/4 of her SUV with the tinted, blacked-out windows underneath this tractor trailer was trying to make a turn. And it wasn't even going fast. So it's one of these idiots who thought that she could go even faster and go around the truck when the truck was still turning. It's a big full-size, tractor trailer. So anyway, from the hood up, the vehicle's left front was crushed into the driver's seat. State police remained on the scene a mile south of Bath until early Friday to investigate. I mean, this car is literally 3/4 of the way underneath this tractor trailer, trying to make a turn. The tractor trailer was turning left on southbound Route 512 from Shaw's Brakes and Repairs, 7710 Beth-Bath Pike, when the SUV hit in the northbound lane, police said. And there's some pictures and videos of this incident, by the way. A lot of pictures. I think there's like 11 or so pictures. Yo was taken to East Allen EMS ambulance to St. Luke's University Hospital, Fountain Hill, with extensive injuries. Well, I don't even know how she lived, if she's alive, because, again, the only thing remaining on the top of this car, or even any part of this car remotely, is from part of the passenger seat back. And it's a big SUV. So I don't even know how she could physically survive. She should have been basically severed from the waist. Well, I would say from the chest down, she should have been severed. That's how far this SUV got under the this tractor trailer. Anyway, time for a lighter note. This was actually the other day. I actually tried to send this and put it on my one friend's Ryan page. He didn't respond. but it was from MeTV, and it was actually a page. I didn't know this. My one friend Matt would actually find this interesting. Kodak's actually going to make bring back the old Super 8 cameras with film. They're actually making Super 8 cameras again. So that's really cool. I think it's like film. I don't think now they're showing it like on tape, but I swear to God, it's supposed to be film. So I'm going to read this really quick. I don't mean to swear, by the way. Kodak has brought back the Super 8 camera. We hope you save your 8mm film. It does say film because the handheld home camera has returned. This was like 2 days ago. As Peter Allen famously sang, "No need to remember when, 'cause everything old is new again." Nowhere is this more evident than in the 2016 Consumer Electronics Show currently underway in Las Vegas. This year's CES is a step back and forward to the era of the Jetsons. Sony and Panasonic unveiled new record players. There are 3D printed arcade cabinets for playing Super Mario Brothers, and there are flying cars. Okay, so there's a little bit of, but no, the camera is for real, by the way, because I actually went to the Kodak website. Yet no product exciting nostalgic such as us, quite like the unveiling of Kodak's new Super 8 camera. The relaunch of the classic family filmmaker tool goes beyond whirling handheld devices. Kodak promises to expand its range of cameras, development tools, and post-production gear. Presumably that will include the means of getting our Flickr 24 frames per second footage onto YouTube. Now, Ryan actually said he wanted to shoot a film on film, so I don't know if he knew about this. We used to use Super 8 cameras, but they were like digital cameras, videotape cameras, my friend Matt and I. But now they're actually talking about making Super 8 film cameras once again this year, brand new ones. A list of directors who grew up learning on the Super 8, big names like Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, and Christopher Nolan praised the comeback. Abrams, of course, directed the film called... Sorry, I had to move away because I have this light like blinding me. Directed the film called Super 8. I didn't know that. I've heard of it. I never actually seen it. There's one major difference between the sleek new Kodak's Super 8 of 2016 and the 8mm cameras. Those movies making machines manufactured by Bollix, Konica, Roche, and more. This one reported prices at just $400. That's not bad at all. Hopefully you will save your 8mm films. So they're saying, though, it's actually going to be filmed, though. But it's only $400 also. I'm going to have to see if I can find something on this real quick. Let me see if I can just put it in real quick. I don't mean to be quiet. I just can't help it. Yeah, I think it's gonna actually have a real film cartridge, and I think I read this last night. It's only gonna be like 15 minutes. Which 15 minutes? 15 minutes is about 50 foot of film. Sorry. Yeah, Kodak's. This was on Engadget. I just pulled it up as I am speaking. Kodak's Super 8 camera is a retro in all the right ways. Yeah, Keller negative film. It is actually real film. One of the nice surprises from this year's CES Kodak Super 8 camera announcement. Perhaps the most surprising is the fact the company isn't leaving the film development up to inspire. Is leaving the film development up to inspire filmmakers. And this $50 to $75 development cost, so it's kind of expensive. You can expect to get film reel and a digital copy pretty neat. So they will give you, it costs like $50 to $75 to develop it, but they will give you a digital print and also a real a film reel. If you can understand what I'm trying to say, probably not, because I'm not doing a very good job. The models are between $400 and $750. The gap is likely accounts for multiple options. So the bare bones one is pretty much $400 and $750 for the ones with everything, bells and whistles. It says in terms of aesthetics, Kodak teamed up with renowned industry designer. It's YVES Bear on the Super 8. The result is a camera that carries enough retro flair to get your inner nostalgia engines humming. See, the only thing is, though, it is great. I was once wanting to shoot something on film, and film does have a different look to it. But you can almost do the same thing with a good digital camera nowadays. That's the only thing. There are a few updates to meet the needs of the modern videographers, though, including a digital viewfinder and an SD card slot to capture the audio at the same time the footage is recorded on film. So you kind of almost need to use some of the modern stuff still. And yes, there's a built-in mic for a lend hand. The lend hand as well. And in addition to more traditional pistol grip, there's a pistol grip. Basically, you hold it on top. There's a handle. There's also a handle on the, I already just said that, top, that allows you to easily capture those shots from the ground. It's kind of a cool idea, but I'm just wondering, honestly, you can get some, film, don't get me wrong, looks really great, but invest in the kind of money you're going to have to do a decent job of shooting this. You can honestly, probably for a couple grand, you can get a 4K camera, and you have much more to work with. You won't have to worry about what you're putting in as far as cost for getting it developed, and even the editing. Unless you're actually at a film school, you're probably going to still want to edit non-linear, in a non-linear way. So you're kind of just you're wasting your money, is what I'm trying to say. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that they're trying to bring back, film cameras, but it's gotten to the point now that you're working. You can work with a 4K camera, and you can do everything at the luxury of your own home. Once you stop, you're done shooting, you can check out what you shot. You can edit it right on your, like me, on my Mac. Why would I want to spend hundreds of dollars that are going to turn into thousands of dollars on a film camera? Which, don't get me wrong, I think it's great. But I just think it's a waste of money too. They actually have I've seen these pictures, these promo pictures, and the mic is actually built in the handle on the top of the camera. It looks kind of very basic. The lens is very impressive, but it's almost like a brownie box, a white brownie box, so to speak. Alrighty, this is a story from mandatory.com. I am moving on. Weird news. An Australian man keeps trying to make his penis into an official signature. So he draws a picture of a penis on the back of his license from Australia. I think it's kind of goofy. Things are going well in the world when this makes the news. Yeah, it actually does say that. Things are going well in the world. No, they're not going well in the world. I had to swallow something. I have no voice almost. According to Bro Bible, a 33-year-old heavy vehicle driver in Victoria has been fighting with the officials for 5 years in an effort to get a drawing of a penis to be his official signature. This is no joke. And that guy is seriously nuts, too. Jarrett Hems said it all started when he signed an election form with a dick and thought it was just something funny to do. The Australian Electrical Commission didn't find it very amusing and told him he couldn't do it anymore. He decided to appeal their decision, but was thrown out for being a waste of taxpayers' money. Yeah, it does say that. It sparked something in me, Dames said. I didn't understand these people were offered or had taken it personally. Oh, I'm sorry. He basically said I didn't understand why these people were offended or why they had taken it so personally. So now he's pushing that he wants a drawing of him drawing a penis on the back of his forms as his John Hancock. No puns intended. Undeterred turd, this Dames or whatever I say his name, tried passing a penis as his signature on other government documents, basically. But the Department of Trade and Foreign Affairs refused to process his application for a passport and threatened him with jail because of images of sexual nature on official paperwork could constitute sexual harassment of government staff, which I'd have to agree with. Finally, this guy had the breakthrough, and he was looking for when he was able to slip a dick signature past the crew of the WMV, driver motor vehicle. It has been smooth sailing ever since. He now has used a penis drawing for a signature on his federal document issued health care card to open a bank account and become a member of the library and apply for various student identity cards. Congratulations with a question mark they put at the end of this story, by the way. It's bad enough I could not read the story properly. It's even worse that this guy actually was able to pass his John Hancock literally as a cock. I mean, I think that's just ridiculous. Anyway, got to lighten up the mood again. Something I am actually looking forward to. I know it's me watching way too much TV, but it was from comicbook.com. New Marvel Daredevil Season 2 trailer released. This was a couple days ago. Okay, 2 days ago. Time to Suit Up Netflix has released a trailer for the highly anticipated second season of Daredevil. So if you have Netflix, it is actually a really good show to watch. I think even Rush might have talked about it. He does watch a lot of TV when he's not on air, Rush Limbaugh, because he mentions a lot of different shows. Just when Matt thinks he's bringing order back into the city, new forces are arising in Hell's Kitchen. Matt is actually, obviously, Matt Murdock, the character of Daredevil. Excuse me. Now the man without fear must take on a new adversary in Frank Castle and face an old flame, Elektra Nachos. Bigger problems emerge when Frank Castle, a man looking for vengeance, is reborn as the Punisher, a man who takes justice into his own hands in Matt's neighborhood. So yeah, the Punisher is going to be the person in this second season coming up. Meanwhile, Matt must balance his duty to his community as a lawyer and his dangerous life as Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen, facing a life-altering choice that forces him to truly understand what it means to be a hero. You know, I see a picture of her. This is something else. I don't know if it's just me. I like to hear somebody else's opinion. There's that chick. She's like just as old as I am at this point. I think she's just like kind of hot because she's really quirky. Is Polly Perrette. She's married too. She plays on that show NCIS. She's like the punky looking chick. I've never watched that show once, but I really love her. I mean, you know, she's just like so adorable. She's like a woman child, but in a good way. I mean, the woman's got a career in acting, so she's got to be doing something right. And yeah, she's like in her 40s. So, I really don't know how old she is, but she's definitely up there. And yeah, It's kind of funny, speaking of that, I actually wanted to get my hair trimmed tonight up in Lansdale at this hairdresser place. I don't know if it was hair cuttery or whatever. And there's a woman in there getting her hair dyed blue. I'm not even kidding. So, and I mean, I know this Paulie Perrette's kind of bizarre. She's 5'10", it says. She's born in 69, so she's like 2 years younger than me. So I was born in 67. So it says she's 46, which means she'll be 47, but I don't know what it is about her. So you can't say, oh, well, she's, you got to stop liking these young girls. Well, she's 2 years younger than me. And again, she's married, I believe. But she's just to me, she's really, in a weird sense of the word, she's really hot. To me, she is. And she's in my age bracket, too, to say the least. I've never watched once. I think it's on Netflix. I've never watched one of those shows. I mean, if she ever came to a comic book convention, I doubt she would, but you never know. She just looks like the type that would. I would have to get an autograph and a photo with her just because I have a Love Jones for her. Yeah, it's just funny because I've never watched the fucking show of NCIS, so it's kind of stupid too. Okay, I'm got my levels too high. I really dig her. I don't know where that came from. I just had to say that. Hey, on Star Wars though, it was kind of funny. There's a lot of angry Star Wars fanatic fans. And this was on ikwiz.com. Fans launch it's not going to go anywhere. They already mentioned this. Fans launch a petition to bring George Lucas back into Star Wars Episode 9. So that would be the last one of the new 3 storylines, the new trilogy. It says it's no longer a secret that George Lucas has expressed some dissatisfaction with with the handling of Star Wars franchise. He seems to like The Force Awakens, but he also has been very critical and outspoken about the story's direction. While a group of diehard fans who share the creator's opinion have gotten together to create a petition at change.org to bring the founder back to the director's chair, and it basically says he's not coming back. He sold his rights to the Star Wars universe for I think it was $5 billion. Not even $5 million, because that would be nothing. It was $5 billion. I'm not even kidding. It really was. And the petition only had I think on it 100 signatures. So that's not going to even float. It's not going to float. Period. So that's the bottom line. But somewhere I swear it said that it was 100 signed signatures on this petition. It's well, good luck. You're going to need probably 100,000 more than that just to even be reconsidered. And they've already paid. Disney has paid him literally $5 billion. They're not going to. They're not going to let that go very easily, and especially after The Force Awakens. As much as I may have not liked it, it's already passed over $1 billion already. So it's a no-brainer that Disney is going to hold on to this for their dear life. I mean, this is just one of the many things they've actually own right now. They own all of Marvel, and that's making them probably billions of dollars as well. So, I mean, you'd have to be really stupid to say, you know what, hey, I'll just give it back to you. I'll let you do whatever you want. No, fuck no. You basically Disney's going to tell these people go fuck yourselves. Because it doesn't matter what they say. They're going to go see the next 2 films and even the ones that come after that. Because there's going to be in-betweener films. There's one coming out this year called the Rogue War or something. It's a Star Wars universe movie. It has nothing to do with the trilogy that's coming up in the next so many years. Anyway, hey, a lighter note. This was from MeTV. I just put it up. Virtual reality goggles came out in 1966. You know, those viewfinder things we used to watch, Viewmaster things we used to look through when we were little kids. That celebrated its anniversary, I guess, the other day, and it was on MeTV. Before things got technical, do you remember the Viewmaster? And it said 1966, some company, Serrera or something. So, yeah, they were both lighter stories, right? Because now I'm back to the dark ones. The Dreamin' Demon, I had a story from about Lisa Kearney, accused of murdering father with a split-in maul. So I didn't know what that meant. It's basically another name for some type of axe. So she put it through her father's head. Minneapolis, is that Minnesota? But it says Minneapolis. Police arrested 38-year-old Lisa Kearney after they, it says after she, there's a typo there because it does say she cracked open her father's head, bottom line. The neighbor called police on Monday to report that they could see 66-year-old Jeffrey Schillen lying on a couch in his home with a blanket over his head and that he was not responding. I wonder why. When police investigated, they first noticed the blood pooling by the dead man's head and the blood splattered on the wall and ceiling. Propped up against a wall nearby was a split-in maul. So it's some type of axe, as I looked it up. Anyway, they also noticed that Schillen's tablet, wallet, keys, and vehicle were missing. Police began searching for Kearney, who also lived in the home with her father, initially describing her as missing. Investigators say Kearney had a strained relationship with her old man and that she was last seen with her in her father's car on January 1st. So on Tuesday, Kearney was found in Louisville, Kentucky, and was in possession of her father's wallet, keys, and tablet. She has since been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. It's amazing how an axe through a head from a woman is just second-degree murder. First degree is premeditated. Investigators believe that Kearney used the split-in maul to crack open her father's skull before taking his vehicle and possessions. She is currently being held in the Jefferson County Jail on $250,000 bail. Neighbors say that Schillen was their best buddy and that a group of men living on the block would regularly hang out by a fire pit in Schillen's backyard. Well, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. He didn't deserve this, is what they're stating, said one of the Schillen's friends. It's going to be a huge hole in the neighborhood. In the spring, we'll be hanging out in the back here, and we'll say, "Where's Jeff?" So the guy's first name was Jeff. I don't know what to say about some of these stories that I do find, and I don't do it intentionally. Here's one, clickorlando.com. So this was definitely from probably Todd. Customer threatened to blow up Bright House in cable complaint, Orange deputies say. So in Orange County, Florida, the deputies arrested a customer who said that he had threatened the Bright House quarters in a complaint about the cable service. Jeffrey Laurel, 55, was charged with making a bomb threat in a Tuesday incident. So is this like a retirement home or something? According to the report, Laurel called Bright House Networks to complain about the cable when he told the customer service representative that he was going to go down to the office and blow you mother explicit up. And a technical technician didn't come fix his cable. Okay, so I apologize. So this guy was mad at the cable company, which apparently is called Bright House Networks, and he had threatened to blow up the customer service or this cable company down in Florida. Deputies said that Laurel seemed to be intoxicated and under the influence of some substance when he had threatened the office 3 or 4 times. Laurel later told deputies he had consumed about 10 beers. when deputies arrived to talk to Laurel, he told them that he might have said something about blowing up Bright House and changed the subject to say that he used to have Dish TV. Or maybe better go back to it. According to the report, deputies said that Laurel told them he felt that the representative was not helping him, and he became short with her. So there you go. I guess I gave him the reason, a good reason. That's why he should threaten the woman's life, who was a or customer service rep for this cable company, by threatening to kill her and blow up the place. That makes a lot of sense. Anyway, this story was from the 6th of this month. 7, you know what? It's like not even the first week. Well, actually, technically, the first week is over of this year. Sorry, I got some itch in my nose. And you got all these really wacky stories. This one was slightly entertaining, by the way. This was from Todd. PIX 11. He found this on the 7th. This was in Santa Monica, California. A pregnant California woman is suing Applebee's after she allegedly found a severed fingertip in her meal. They actually have a picture of the severed. Sorry about that. I keep on itching, and now I'm hitting the mic. She's suing Applebee's over finding a severed finger. I made a joke because she should have just ate the fucking thing. It was so gross that Kathleen Martin of Acerado, I'm on pins and needles worrying about what my family might have been exposed to, saying in the press release from her attorney that she is concerned her unborn child might have been affected. How would that happen? Martin ordered the Chinese chicken salad from Applebee's along the 2300 block Theater Drive at Pasco Robles on December 20th, and her husband and their young daughter ate from it before they saw the bloody chunk of finger. So now they're suing. I'm just curious how much you're suing for. Because I'm sorry, everybody's like sue happy. The family told the manager at the restaurant that Applebee's identified the worker who had lost a fingertip, according to Martin's attorney, Eric Trott. He also confirmed that the family has undergone medical testing since the incident, and the Applebee's say it cannot legally test the employee for any diseases. Martin is suing for unspecified damages, citing emotional distress, medical costs for testing, and loss of income. Applebee's spokesperson Tom Lindfelt has not responded to the request or comment. So that was like on the 7th. I really got to turn on the fan. Alrighty, this is one from Todd. He found on Todd Thomas. He found this on mandatory.com just on the 7th. Michigan couple gets engaged at a Walmart and didn't steal sex toys from a Spencer's gift shop. So, yeah, they're a young couple too. Yeah, hey, they're in love. According to the Smoking Guns, a 25-year-old Bay City man proposed to his girlfriend at a Walmart last week and spent New Year's Eve in jail with his new fiance after the couple was busted stealing sex toys from the Spencer gifts inside the Bay City Mall across the street. I don't know. Police said that they responded to the shoplifting complaint at Spencer's last week, Wednesday, but the couple fled the scene before they arrived. They first caught up with a 20-year-old Sherry Moore, who told them that she didn't take anything from the store, despite the fact that she was found with a stolen jewelry in her pockets. Yeah, you know what? I think somebody has kind of planted that in her pockets, and she's just a victim of circumstance. A short while later, they found William Cornelius sleeping at a food court table inside the mall, apparently having passed out while tying his shoes. Well, you know what? That's probably the hardest thing he's probably done all his life is the tying his shoes and proposing to a girl. Police searched him and found $80.63 worth of stolen merchandise from Spencer's, including a bride-to-be thong, a $14.99 vibrator, well, he's a cheap fucker, a BJ Blast oral sex candy, and a $5.99 edible thong. Cornelius told police, that is the way you say his name, by the way. I think I actually got that right. Told police that he had stolen the items for his fiancée and that he had just proposed to her at a Walmart across the street. He probably stole a ring from there. Police reviewed the surveillance footage there, and sure enough, there was Cornelius purchasing a $29.62 engagement ring and using the store's public address system with permission to propose to Moore. I wonder if I could get away with buying a $30 engagement ring. Moore was charged with misdemeanor, larceny, and eventually told police that Cornelius ganked everything. Cornelius was hit with a misdemeanor charge of retail fraud and then told police he did it because of, wait for it, tramadol he had been given during a recent hospital visit. Tramadol he had, I don't know, folks. That's what it's, something on that line. But he obviously, the most important thing here is that exactly what I said. Obviously, the most important thing, wait for this. This is from me, but this is what it actually says. But hey, obviously, the most important thing here is that they were in love with each other. I swear to fucking God, that's what it says. I did not mean to say that. But it's seriously, I was making a sarcastic remark, and that's what they said. Well, they're in love. They were being sarcastic to this article from mandatory.com. Alrighty, this was kind of weird on Dream and Demon. Couple accused of keeping a 12-year-old daughter zip-tied in playhouse. And I apologize. I don't mean to use God's name in vain. That just slipped out, by the way, on that last story. In Florida, Victoria and Dr. Eugenio, or whatever, turned themselves into police after admitting the regularly zip-tied their 12-year-old daughter and held her inside an indoor playhouse. 2 days after Christmas, police were called by one of this family. Neighbors who explained he had a young girl in his front door. Her hands were zip-tied together. He told police, and she had separate ties around her ankles. The neighbor initially believed the girl had been kidnapped. When the police arrived and spoke to the girl, she explained that her parents hog-tied her whenever she got angry and kept her locked in a playhouse located in the loft of the home. This is a 12-year-old girl they did this to. So as a punishment, this family actually hog-tied their daughter, 12-year-old little girl, and put her in a playhouse as a punishment. This couple were 51 and 53 years old. I don't know. But yeah, this was actually, this was on the 7th, this story from Dream and Demon. This was a story I wanted to get to. I'm sorry, this seemed kind of humorous. Teen arrested after rats eat off baby's face. Okay, that's not too cool then. I thought it was going to be a little bit lighter than that. So I apologize. I had a picture of a mouse eating a piece of cheese, and it just got to me, so I didn't know where it was going. This was actually from the 7th, too. This was in Mexico. Police have arrested an 18-year-old Elizabeth Mangani after rats ate off the face of her 4-month-old baby. The teen left the baby daughter in care of the baby's grandmother Monday night so she could go out and party for a couple hours. Hey, that's understandable. Just to have kids and not take care of them. When she returned home shortly after midnight, she found her infant dead inside her crib. Seems that rats had got into the girl into the girl and had chewed off half of her face and fingers. They're pretty nasty rats. After running to the neighbors for help, paramedics arrived on the scene but could not do nothing to save the infant, who was pronounced dead at the scene. After talking to the police, both the teen and her mother were taken into custody. We've reported on a lot of stories involving unattended babies being eaten by animals, others other than dogs. This is what they're writing, by the way. Including an infant that lost most of its face after the family ferrets decided to make a meal out of it. So this is pretty bad. And the baby that was strangled to death by a family pet python. See, that's the thing. Again, these are certain critters you don't have as house pets. And people just don't seem to get it. Of course, there's many things people don't seem to get. Anyway, I'm going back to the comic book stories, because this one I think everybody will kind of find interesting. And it actually is with our man M. Night Shyamalan. This was on the 7th, by the way, too. It was on comicbookmovie.com. Or comicbook.com. There's comicbookmovie.com and comicbook.com. This is comicbook.com. M. Night Shyamalan rebooting Tales from the Crypt on at TNT. So I made a joke. I said, well, I'm going to be in one of these shows if he actually is rebooting them or redoing them. Because M. Night Shyamalan's from, my neck of the woods. Tales from the Crypt is getting a series reboot at TNT with the Visit director M. Night Shyamalan at the helm. The horror anthology series will feature a short and long-form content current by Shyamalan. And it says in quotes, to be of such a beloved brand like Tales from the Crypt, something I grew up with watching, and to also have the chance to push the boundaries of the genre television as a whole is an inspiring opportunity that I can't wait to dive into, Shyamalan says. So I really hope he kind of does, because he tries to keep everything in Pennsylvania just to keep us that we can do something like work-wise. So that'd be really cool if he is able to do something in Pennsylvania once again. Tales of the Crypt is based on the EC Comics series of the same name created by William Gaines. The original show ran from 1989 to 1996 on HBO, and the show's host, Crypt Keeper, has become an icon of horror. Tales of the Crypt is known for the stories with Twilight Zone-style twists, so Shyamalan seems like a natural fit. The Tales from the Crypt will debut on TNT this fall. So obviously he's done most of the work already. I never heard anything, so maybe he did not shoot it in this area, which kind of sucks. Kind of wish he did. You know what? That might be my last of my stories anyway. So hopefully, and I do mean that you found some entertainment out of my stories tonight. But yeah, I try to do the best I can. This show went on pretty long tonight, so I hope you enjoyed it. I will do a check on how everything sounds, and since it is Saturday morning, I want to kind of enjoy part of my weekend as well. Hey, I'm enjoying every day right now. What am I saying? So everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. Yes, signing off once again. So have a good one. Have a good weekend. I will be back shortly. Thanks again.